welcome to Bank Talk. My name is Jason Clark, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Hassani Evelyn, Akim Nero, Dwayne Collymore, and Damian Reed. And tonight we are also joined by special guests, someone who is no stranger to the cricketing arena, especially in the Barbados scene. Someone who's played youth cricket for Barbados. He was a very active member of the Empire Sports Club. He played first class cricket for CCC as well, and he is now in the coaching realm of his career. That who's joining us tonight is Mr. Jamal Smith.
One of the tallest wicket-keeper batsmen we know. Yo, Smith.
Yeah, good night. Good night, Jamal. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Jamal, how are you doing?
I'm well. You guys, how you guys doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Just want to first thank you for joining us on the show, like I said earlier. And I just want to dive straight into things. We had Wendell Coppin a couple of weeks ago, former coach of the Yorkshire cricket team, and I asked him, what was it like coaching the likes of Akim Nero and Dwayne Collymore. I watch these guys, week in and week out, and I know how these guys can get. So you are now the current coach of the Yorkshire cricket team. So I want to hear from your perspective. I want to hear from what was it like? What is it like coaching these two guys? Because like I said, I know how these two can get. So I want to hear from you. What is it like coaching these two here?
Well, I call Mr. Collymore Federal. Fed would know me from way back then when we used to represent Empire Club. So we have a pretty decent relationship. He still holds me accountable for a minor error that I would have made, but it put him squarely in Nero sites going to Yorkshire. But we got over that, and I think we have a pretty good relationship. Nero, I like to tell Nero, I think he's a bit too nice as a fella. I think he has the attributes to be a pretty good administrator at the club level, etc. And as a captain. But if it's one fault Nero has, it's just he's a little too nice. He's a nice guy.
Okay.
I'm hoping this season to get at least 1.5 laps out of him. You should have seen him yesterday. It was horrible.
Whoa.
It was horrible. But yeah, man, it's pretty good guys overall, and at Yorkshire, pretty comfortable Saturday night seeing it's a nice young group. So pretty pleased to be working with those guys.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that coming from you.
He looking for some harsh comments, man. He hoping to hear his rebels or sell, man.
Come on, no, Collymore. I know I've known you guys for years, so I know you guys are not any rebels, and I consider you guys friends. So I know you guys are not any rebels.
I'm just checking.
I know I know how you can get sometimes on the cricket field, and once I get Nero, sometimes when Nero is skipper, Nero will bowl all day. So
That still happens.
well, so I just wanted to get the coach's perspective on you guys, but nothing but good reports, as I figured.
Yeah, I asked about Nero bowling this. I find in the draft star.
I wasn't really gonna address it, to be honest. I think after Craig Bradford, said that Nero is a pretty good. I think those were the words he used. He's a pretty good
quality.
He didn't say quality.
Yeah. So,
Nero has a quality off break.
yeah. So I mean, if Craig Bradford can say that Nero, he did say that. Fred, you're correct. If Craig Bradford can say that, Nero has a quality off break. I mean, there's nothing more that Jason Clark can say, or I take Craig's word for it. So I'll leave it at that, and off of Nero's bowling now. I'm off of Nero's bowling.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so Jamal, as we just alluded to that, you are a coach currently coaching. You've been coaching for how long now? Because I see that you were the coach of the Guardiola team as well.
Well, the Guardiola part that was more of a player role, but
Okay,
for
okay.
some reason, whenever I go around the circuit, I assume some kind of leadership role. But I would have started my own camp with Jason. He has called Camp Get Ahead. We usually cater to guys from young men from about 6 years old up onto 14, 15. And I
Mm,
moved on from there. I did a stint at UE St. Augustine, I think year before, if memory serves me correct. Pretty long stint down there with the university team in their the competition, which is basically same as ours for division, elite, etc.
mm-hmm.
What else did they do? Of course, I Center Excellence as well. Well, specializing in keeping it right now. I'm working with the Barbados cohort of the West Indies on 19s with Florifa and Rohan Nurse.
Okay, okay.
Prepare those guys to go off to Antigua sometime in August. Also, all told, probably about 4 years experience, 5 on the job in terms of senior level cricket, but about 6 or 7 doing juniors as well.
Okay, okay, interesting. Interesting. Um, I want to stick to the coaching in the Barbados, to stick in Barbados aspect of it. I'm not sure if you would have uh had a chance to watch last week's episode, but we had Mr. Collymore, who he basically had to show up for himself. He went on a rant about the BCA and blah blah blah. I want to get your thoughts on, as a coach, you said you've been in it for 4 or 5 years. I just want to get your thoughts on the current state of cricket in Barbados. And if we are on the right track in terms of building and getting cricket back to where it is, or where it should be, I should say. Uh, uh, Not really where it should be, where it was years ago.
Well, that was a pretty broad question.
Mhm,
What I would say is we have the talent, and there's
mhm,
no denying that. But our structures, I wouldn't say outdated, but especially at the first division elite level, we still have the issue with playing domestically. Unfortunately, you can only practice here. Fairly soon we get an hour and a half or late at Yorkshire if we lucky. And then
mhm,
obviously guys coming from work, etc. So what I find happens, it is just from my experience, yes. And coaching
mhm,
at Yorkshire first division, you will find that you have guys that are demotivated, so to speak. They love the sport, they will play the sport, but it's more of a pastime and having fun at that level. And specifically speaking the first division right now because of dealing in Yorkshire. And it was a slight adjustment, as I would have told you as well, coming from Inquiry. I had guys like 7, 8, 9 guys playing first class cricket and looking to get in as opposed to coming to Yorkshire. And I remember one of our first conversations we had as a team in a warm up game. I think it was Nero again that said that nobody in here looking to play for Barbados. And
mhm,
I took that personally from the point of view that the group was young and you got guys at the Talbot bracket there as well. And a couple other guys that if they was to put in the requisite work probably could be around. But I understand where they're coming from in terms of how cricket is trying to fight in Barbados. If we're going to knock the system, I would say that if you're not a system man, so to speak, it's very hard
mhm,
to break through and break in, and you have to
Yep.
rely on a fella having an eye for you and pulling you one side and trying to get you in. And from that perspective, as far as our selection is concerned, for say trials, etc., we have a guy would score 6, 5, 6, 700 runs, and we have a case in point at Talbot Bracket, for instance.
mhm,
He's a guy who I think can play. Obviously, in a stint right now in England, doing pretty well for a start. But he was one guy from Yorkshire, for instance. I identified that I felt had the ability to play the cricket. But what happens? You're 25, 26, you're scoring runs, 27, 28, you're scoring runs, 28, 29, scoring runs, still no recognition. Probably go to trials if you're lucky, get one trial game, or you don't get a trial game at all, that kind of stuff. It kind of demotivates you, so you end up then just playing for fun. I think that's something
mhm,
the BCA needs to revisit. Like even again now with this new cup and the new structure that they're coming with is fine. But you recycle the same pool of players and not necessarily rewarding people for performing and and I cited that as well. Sometimes you reward people for not performing or what I like to call cheesing in the cricket. Because for me, there should be a minimum requirement and a standard. Like say you're a contracted player for the BCA and you're a fast bowler and you don't send out X amount of overs in the season and you don't get X amount of wickets, or you're a batsman, you're not posting over 350, 400, 500 runs, whatever. Whatever is, if it was at the Jamal Smith, you would not be at trials. And whoever that guy is from isolation, Yorkshire, whatever
He will
club
be there.
that has done that, he will go to trials. That's how I believe it should be. So what
Mhm.
I would, for me, what I would create is a little motivation for the guy that feels like can't get in. And another guy that pops into my mind is a guy that Jamal Bullen. I actually saw him a couple of weeks ago. We were doing it on the 90s, like Frank Stevenson, a fellow with a lot of ability, etc. So as I say, what you find is that there's an exclusiveness that needs to be addressed. I don't think we have addressed, and then you got the us and the them. So it's like man, them fellas that being good on by the BCA, them getting all the opportunities. Whereas you have a guy that may make some runs and may not necessarily get in. I remember Miguel, what was his name? No, Miguel Austin. He would have scored like 400 and some odd runs for St. Captain,
St.
averages over
Catherine.
40 odd only last year, the year before the T20, and it was one where he didn't get invited to the trials. Then they would see another opening batsman that's been around the system that barely mustered 200 runs walking in people trials. And to be honest with you, if I'm being frank, I think that that's an error. That's a mistake. I have no problem with the system, man. We all know who the talent is and who whatever. But you have to create a reward-based structure, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. And
yeah.
I think what that will help to do too is motivate, as I said, the players of the Yorkshires, they say wherever to play cricket harder because they believe that it's a little something out there for them. So if it was not the structure, I would say that that is where we have some work to do overall, though, as a product. The Barbados Cricket Association, especially with limited resources, are not doing a bad job. You have the
Mhm.
coaches down there, you have the guys, obviously, in a group of guys that you practice on your work with, and you have the working facilities to do, etc., etc. But as I said, overall, I think that's one weakness in the structure that could be corrected. You always would like some more resources. I personally think you could look revisit the structure of the cricket as well. I played in Trinidad, as I said before, and I kind of like how they operated. And again, they have some of the resources to do so. So, for instance, if I would start my practice sessions at 6, we finish at 9, but I could do that because they have lights, most of the grounds, even like a Yorkshire, whatever, they will have lights that compatible enough that you can use them. That's not the case
Mhm.
here. They play T20s during the week, 50 over on weekends, and the season is condensed and it finishes pretty quickly. And I think what that gives you time to do is when your season finishes and they play 2 day cricket.
Mm.
What that does is that allows your season to finish in a specified period of time, and then you have enough time to say play now. Everybody going with this term best of best, so let's go with the best of best term. But you have the better players coming out to your local season now, looking to play in a semi-pro trials because I believe trials out there again too. This choreographed thing, this fella gonna bowl 6 overs and this body gonna open, etc., as opposed to a competition based tournament that
Mhm.
a Fed, a Nero, or whoever could feel like there's a little reward that could be had from performing during the season. Even if I don't make the Barbados team, at least I'm playing in a recognizable and in a cricket structure. And to be honest, as a coach, I see it a lot. You take a guy that has his skill or whatever, but then you put him in a performance system, high performance or thereabout, and you were able to see him move from one tier to the next, and you garner different results from him, especially in terms of fitness and awareness and all of that. So we could go
Mhm.
on and on about those kind of things, but as I said, where I think the weakness in the structure is that it needs to be a more slanted towards being reward based and
Mhm.
asking more of our players that we are rewarding with contracts, asking them to perform on Saturdays, turn up for the clubs if they fast bowlers bowl X amount of overs in the season, etc. Instead of,
Mm.
as I said, cheesing. So that's just my opinions. I know sometimes they come across a little strong or harsh, but I call it as I see it.
Yeah, and
Nah, nah.
I really appreciate your answer there. As you say, you called it as you see it, and yeah, I really appreciate that. I was gonna hold back this question for a little later on in the show, but you know how you answer that question. I really want to hear how you were gonna answer this question though. There is a negative for some reason. I don't agree with it, but there's a negative stigma attached to UV in Barbados. The UV I don't want the UV cricket UV in Barbados. One of our members, Mr. Dwayne Collymore, from what I can remember, he's definitely one of those members who I don't want to say bash, but he has some thing to say about the cricketer at UV in Barbados. How I see it, I do not understand why people have such negative things to say about it. All it does, in my opinion, plain and simple, is that it gives another guy an opportunity to play cricket at the highest level, and that gives a guy the opportunity to be seen and like I said, to go on and play at the highest level. And the perfect example of that is Carlos Bradford. Perfect example of that is Carlos Bradford, because when Carlos Bradford first got in to to the first class cricket, when Barbados did not pick him and he went to play at the CCC, Carlos Bradford had an excellent season, and then the next year,
CCC and UV two different things, you know.
Thank you, Fed. I'm waiting. Cause he,
But carry on,
yeah.
carry on.
and he went on. Like I said, he had a pretty good season, and he went on to play for Barbados the next year. Barbados actually called him to play for the next year. And like I said, that's where Carlos Bradford really started to really show what he's made of. On the first class level, because we all know Carlos Bradford for years had talent, very very talented player. So I just want to get your thoughts on the CC. Well, as the guy just said, CCC, UV, two different things, but could be the same thing. So I just want to get your thoughts on that as someone who would have represented CCC yourself.
I kind of get this question all the time in a roundabout way. I actually would have been a part of the first set of, I would say, the first cohort, if memory serves me correct. Shirley Clark and those guys were 2007 when I came in 2008. I actually was in the team that won the first class game against Barbados at UE. Yeah.
Bennett.
So yeah, with Bennett and stuff.
So Jamal, just a quick. You were studying at UVA time, right? You were doing your. Yeah, right. I mean, just trying to establish. Right. That's all we're trying to make sure. You would have got into UE and you're doing your studies and right. That's all. Right, continue.
Yes. I guess
That criteria for some.
That's what it was getting to Fed.
I can approach that question, or give me some time. Give me space and time for this question for you guys. It's a contentious issue, and it's not even only related to cricket, because only recently I heard there was a little row about the netball and the fact that they felt like there was a netball drain. Some of the girls, most of the girls are playing for Blackbirds, called the office, offering scholarships, etc.
They basically buy out the sports.
Yeah. So, but Fed, I get that, but when a young person is faced with the choice to keep things as they are or look for opportunity to do better, you can't really blame the sports.
I have no problem with that.
Right. So what I'm saying to you is, if the structure allows for it, and the structure allows for it at University of West Indies, unfortunately in this instance, because that our sports infrastructure especially is not up to scratch, people are going to get to yours, UV, and you can't blame a person at the end of the day.
I am not.
Right. So what UV actually shows you is the level that our sports needs to be taken to in terms of facilities, backroom staff, etc. It actually is the gold standard. However, I actually would have had some very bitter rivalries with UE coming up to my Empire days, because I was actually a little offended at first by UE project, but then I understood what was going on, and I had to.
You're correct. We hear you. Yeah.
I had to respect the process, and I learned that over time that, as Jason just said, that there are a few players then that will come up, play for UE, go on to CCC, that who probably wouldn't necessarily be able to represent West Indies or showcase their talent. So as far as the ladder is concerned, is there, and the at face value, what the University of West Indies offers, I really don't think you can discount that. However, when we pull it back now and we say, okay, we see a lot of instances where there's some poaching.
The layers under the.
For example, if we see some poaching or we see some.
My problem wasn't with giving your opportunity, The problem we had with UV is that UV basically ain't went through no channels at all to just get to that elite stage. Like, you just hear 1 year, well, UV can be in the competition, the developmental team, and then boom, floodgates open. I mean, don't get me wrong, UV's produced. I see some average players that Floyd and the team down there just really drill and get in there running good. I would never discredit that. by the end of the day, as you say, when you peel back some of the layers, you understand? And what some of the problems they have with you be also coming up from you, as you said, Jamal, Empire, like you will see the amount of comfort with some of the players due to the length of time that they spend in the UE system, as opposed to trying to carry that system, trying to build a system outside the UE or try to go outside their comfort zones. Like an example would be Kyle Carmen. For example, like Carb is the perfect example of a person who was in the comfort zone for a long time, you understand? And people, not only me, like the selectors were saying, man, they want to see, they want
Yeah, can't have it said.
Take me long. Take me
to
long.
Be still calling you. Be calling cut the internet, man.
Oh, I think he's back. I think he's back.
Mm-hmm.
You there?
Fact,
but
then,
yeah, so it's like so, yeah, it's still here.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then you got some players that they produce. When you look at, as Jason mentioned, Carlos, Raymond. You know, I remember you used to go to class and see Raymond working hard. Like Raymond out there working hard. And that's what I say on the period. Like you got coaches out there. I might not let you system, but Floyd just get results, yes.
Fact.
That man just get
but
results.
there were also some that was talented, and let me be frank, doing so go out there and play your ass. Let me be frank, and I'm not looking.
That's true.
When they started UV, right? I guess when they started UV, the structure was, the criteria was, you had to be, well, in fact, you had to be a student studying a degree at UV. That was the narrative that was pushing. Then all of a sudden, that was the path you had to walk. All of a sudden, my life on a helicopter, I just practicing. You look, but you don't see this. You don't see these men running stuff, and then you hear all of a sudden, oh, if you got Polytechnic or BCC, or even if you do a course at open campus, it still count for certain men. Just to get certain men in. That was the wrong.
That's the problem where it becoming about winning. You start to see that it actually become more about winning as opposed to what it started out to. And you have some players that, and to me, I can't say a system fail because of a few players, you know. If the majority better than the minority, to me the system work. Yeah, you got a couple of players, and we could call names. We ain't go beat around the bush. This in the Mason, I guess we could. You had the players like Nick Parr, for example, who was out there so long, still yet they never complete. You understand? But when you look at a guy like Miles Bascom or Currency, like these guys who come in from the island, get the education, play the cricket, and move on. You understand? That was the issue with some of the local. Too comfortable, they're challenging themselves, and then it's like, well, yeah, they still ain't getting the result, they still ain't finish the education, and they just milking the cricket. So that was the issue with UE.
Because like you,
I like the system UE has in place in terms of they pay the players, they move like a professional setup. You gotta be, and I mean, I might not be in it, but I had a chance to be around the setup, not directly involved, but to see how it is run, the ins and outs. And to be honest, you might say Floyd this, but Floyd is running tight shit. Just when that man call a meeting, even the aunts on the pastor, just get there early. You understand?
And to me, like those are things that you need, and I think the setup there is perfect.
Yes, but the setup can work for some. And not for all. Yes, but thank you. The narrative was supposed to be developmental. You developing the complete. Right. So developmental. So the whole scope was a rounded athlete. So that this, you know, if you got something happen to your injury, you got something to fall back on. That was the whole cup summary. But then it just fall by the wayside. I know you got some that were successful and some that wasn't successful. Some that when they start was there before me and they left, and then they're still there and probably they're still there today. So for me, and then it also pushed a lot of people So you be I rather go and play for clubs because them were like when I'm at the Saints, I come you to learn and say well here they play cricket for school, but it's hard for me to break in call. I'm taking the correct path, the path that them
Yeah,
tell
it
me go
was.
take. But
It,
some people get fast strap from a helicopter in because of favors. And Jamal and the cricket is a cricket friend and I just sit down on the tree and we just observe these things by fans. But then you see the man dejected, like man is just saying, oh well, let me just go and play for a club. And then the same club, man, this was end up playing in the region, the Barbados team and the West Indies team. But because part of, as you said, is just end up playing cricket for fun because they felt, man, I got favorite IUV. That's that boy favorite, and he like that body, so he can play that body, and that ain't ever doing that. IUV he just can let them participate. They come. And just
Hassani,
you don't know football,
honestly,
you
Hassani.
know
yeah, they,
football in the start point.
honestly, the top you there. I
But
can't
what?
say that
Tell me,
that that
tell me
them
what? Tell me
top.
what the difference that you just explained there. Tell me that don't happen at a normal club.
Yeah, it's true. But
But
James, I
UE
mean,
was supposed to be a developmental hub. You bet UE came, it
man,
was developmental.
yeah,
Like
but
the
the narrative
whole
changed. My only
right
issue,
time.
as I tell you with UE, as I say, or I tell you with UE, is that how they went about getting into the elite, and that's a problem. That's a discussion I had in Paris play first class players. But what UE team, what it did though, I must say, is that it forced a lot of clubs to step up. Like coming from Impact, Jess, when we gonna play Impact as a big game, you guarantee Impact won't beat UE. You understand? Like we ain't care who you bring in. You can bring in Shivs. We can find somebody. We believe we got the exploits to beat them. So a lot of teams then started to become more competitive. The cricket started to become a little more time because people start planning for UE. Like you at one time is like UE win everything in Barbados. Start the year they win everything. You understand? So it pushed the cricket to another level. But as Asani said, I can't agree with the favoritism because they had a guy named Croc. I can't remember what Croc name is. But Kevon Beckles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people label Croc a cowboy, Jace. And to be honest, Croc is a cowboy. You understand? But Floyd, for example, say, you know what? I mean, just is saying I see the man is do like he would take a man who you would call a bush cricketer. You understand? This man might be a man that got hard to leg. That's the only thing the man could do. But he can fine tune that hard to leg. And that can become a don't care what you do, that man game, that shot perfect. So that area perfect. And that's saying that I see in a lot of different like I had another guy who Bramble that currently probably in Australia think he's still but Bramble got the hands just to me. Bramble can but I see Floyd work with Bramble, and Bramble become a very, very decent keeper. So the I can't say it's only favoritism. I can't say because favoritism is going and we can look at the BCS system and say oh favoritism in there too. You understand? So
Exactly, Nero. Like
so
people talk about
yeah,
favoritism and this and that, but to me, you can't single out one aspect, which is the favoritism, and just stick that point. You where favoritism is going at every club, in every
yeah.
organization,
But
in
but
every like it's all
but
over.
yes. But Jamal made the
I
point.
also want to ask Hassani and Colin Moore. Fair enough. When y'all spoke about the route that they took to get
Yeah,
to
I
that
was
level,
given to them.
probably what might
Yeah,
not have been, whatever. So I want to know from you. I want to hear from you guys like what what was the proper channels that we should have taken to get to
Second
that level.
division, intermediate for that should have gone so.
Okay.
yeah.
Or at least
That's the
intermediate,
channel.
and then go up. Because then it
Even if
looked
you
like
right. Even if
you
you want to
Okay.
can
start in the
drop
second
in
division,
because
you can say
technically if you was labeling it as developmental, you developing players. So
Uh,
where you put them straight at the top.
but
So
to tell
then
you
the
the truth,
offense
right,
said,
But
huh?
Hassani,
that was
okay,
not
okay. Oh, let me ask the question.
you would be
When
everybody.
you first came onto the stage, I can't. I'm not good with yours, but I wanted to give me some of the names that would have been in that crop that you would have want to start at the bottom and work the way up with Floyd as the coach.
I can't remember.
You
Who
had
went
a
to
lot of
start?
players there.
Yeah,
You
a
had
lot of
Omar
players.
Phillip, you had Currency, Boston. You had a lot of
Can't
players,
remember.
quality players. So that's why I
Jonathan
say,
remember when he
So
started.
you
Jonathan remember when he started
I
from
don't,
Banks.
No,
nah,
Jonathan
Jonathan
never
Jonathan
went
Banks
to
from
start.
Banks.
fairly
so
early
you
though.
want you call Currency there. Remember, Currency was a pretty good player back in there. Or they had a
Yeah,
period. Omar Phillips scored a lot of runs, a lot of
correct,
runs. Or
correct.
like
TSC Glenn.
So
You had
just you
Chadwick
want
too.
so just my thing is that
Grant
you draw
Austin.
the straight. Everybody
thank
had
you.
to earn their fan. My thing is that everybody clubs is gonna fight hard to get promoted.
I
I ain't
agree with you.
saying
I agree with
the,
you.
the,
But what I'm telling you is
the
that
shot
I
to
believe
earn. Mm-hmm,
even if you start in Division 3,
mm-hmm.
you will you will win that every division till they get to the elite,
But
and
that's art.
that's quite
At
frank.
least,
That is
at
quite
least,
frank.
at least the path is a path. You
I
understand?
understand you. I agree with you.
And
I
what
agree
Jamal
with you.
said, I completely agree. And me and Fed is hard is them is pick who they want pick, and they don't go wrong at the other clubs and see that you don't reward a man for the runs
This
because
pay
he ain't
best
got a
thing best,
certain
and that's
name.
all.
Like the same Braffet, the guy who's the guy they got a guy from isolation capitals to score a lot of runs every year. I ain't
Jesse
never seen my
Bullet.
Barbados shows yet.
Yeah, but
Bullet.
Name it coming, but a certain clubs that when they look at your scores and then you watch the cricket, you see in the intermediates, man, like every year scoring runs, intermediate and first, and they don't get a call, they don't get invite to a trial game
you
because you
got a
don't
good
know if these
system
men can
though.
perform.
You got a good system, Sonny man. Like their intermediate teams be real strong. That man's pull from their intermediate team at any chance, and just fill in the first team or whatever the case
Mhm.
is. But some of my problems with UE is not as I say, it is set up and the third is like
Mhm.
UE is bully cricket to me. Like UE is you beat UE protest. You get that the point of time. I remember in Pavy play UE a game, boy. I can't remember the game. I mean in Pavy the game it was late though. It was dark. And John only make even beer noise just they make the protest.
Mm,
So you
mm.
can't friends to beat. I think somebody to beat them again. They got fun. They got a thing that I ain't play yet too. In Barbados. Is a 50 or T20 tournament. I don't know the finals they play. Cause St.
Yeah.
Catherine's beat UE, and the man says St. Catherine's use the wrong ball. Man, the man's
Mm.
funny. The man's funny. The man is just funny, and they got the resources. You understand? So man,
So,
but
mhm.
apart from that, there like UE system, Floyd. The way a Floyd coach, as I tell you on episode before, Floyd, he gotta be good for something because he's get results. All he programs is work. The training and the youth programs is work. You understand? And that's really good about the BC, as Bert was saying earlier. You gotta revamp because you got to. The BCA now is not UE.
Mhm.
UE has a select group that they can select from, along with the countries that they want to. But the BCA now has a job of the country. You understand? So you can't just be rewarding a man because he in the system. You understand? And that idea that Bert get into me, it sounds very feasible. It sounds like it makes sense because it would, as he said, it would motivate a man or like me or Nero to say, well, I might still stand an outside chance here, yeah. Don't mind that
Mm.
I got Kevin Walker as a keeper and Shane
Mm.
Dulrich, but if I go here now and score saying these runs or play some blunders in this game, I could accept the apple cart.
Mm.
But
Mm.
I
Mm.
might go now and set the apple cart and then well you're gonna reward me. So what you can tell myself, Mike, I was gonna start some coordinates or saying.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's very touchy, but I don't really I don't fault the UE system, their
Mm-hmm.
overall system. I just have problems with how to go about certain things. Simple
Fair
as
enough.
that.
So
Fair enough.
all right, back to Jamal. That's a quick. For the people that watching, and I probably only hear about you probably at Empire. So give me a backstory of Jamal, the cricketer growing up. Like you was always a keeper. Where you was like the through your journey. If you can remember, or I
First
said
of
it in
all,
Georgia.
you went with some big old swingers. So
Like
we
that.
edge.
Um, I started at Wesley Hall. Started at Wesley Hall. We've been a couple of places there. Back then, Rohan Nurse was the big man. I can remember clearly. He scored a lot of runs. Benton Alexandra. Met the Barbados on the 19th team. From there, 2 years, 2002 and 3. Won the cup in 2002, I think. Yeah, 2002. Then I was a keeper then, but oh Lord, I actually broken my finger, but at the time I was batting pretty well in Eswick, Roddy Eswick. Suggested to me that I can still bat three for Barbados, but I would just not keep my hand. I was swelling up all the time. And I was bowling into off spinning nets, and it was a game we could not get the leewers ball out for some reason, and I just bowled it over before T. Yeah, wicket, come back. Yeah, we hit Nets two balls, continue, then ended up with six for 36 or some mess like that. Next game, Roddy dropped a medal small. Roddy dropped a medal small, and they get two fifers against Trinidad, Ramden, and Simmons, and then fellas, and then they come back home. Both all Spain, yeah, about 30 all wickets in like 4 games for Empire. Then come back next year, got 49, but all they wanted still wanted to keep. But it started to get real. It started to get confusing. Something they actually my first time game I played as an off spinner for CCC. And the same game when we beat Barbados, got Ryan Hayes. I think I got Ryan Hayes in that game called that slip. And then Bennett come and get five and he back him.
You gonna let him live that long, boy.
Yeah, Ryan would never be able to live that long. But yeah, then I knock around a couple of years, play for Barbados, bought my hand at Kensington, Jason Water, bought a short ball on our Ridgy pitch. Then the pitch was doing this thing for World Cup or some message. I know the pitch was Ridgy and they bought my hand. It was out of business for about 2 years. All rehab and stuff. Then Dilly Dally played for Empire, and then find my way back to CCC as captain in 2017, I think, and then finished from there. So that was basically it.
So the broken hand, mentally, how was that? Talk us through that
Uh,
process, mentally, because you say you was out for 2 years. So you was on
actually,
this upward trajectory.
in a
That
very
instant.
very strange way, to be very honest with you, I would argue that is one of the better things that happened to me because while you're realizing isolation and at therapy, you're by yourself, you're out to pasture basically, and I had found time to finish my degree properly, and just educate myself and for myself, redefining myself, and realizing that there's life before or after cricket. And that's when I obviously started then to get into looking at coaching, commentary, just other stuff. So I would say at that time I started to try to rebrand myself, so to speak, because I was still in that mode, playing with all the guys, rubbing shoulders and thinking you can make it or trying to make it and not focusing on other things. So I would say from that point of view, it was good for me. Psychologically as a player, I would say probably first season back trying to use my hand again was difficult. Taking my off your back constantly, that psychological thing. Studying about getting hit and that kind of stuff, and then basically could not be able to play shots I used to play because I have pins in my. I got broken my metacarpals, so I had to learn to use these two fingers again. So you got a grip and that kind of stuff. And as I said, getting an injury like that, I think it was 26 at the time. It just put things in perspective for me because I felt like it was in my prime. I just met 598 runs in the BCSCs. I was feeling good, you know what I mean? And thinking about prospects, but it wasn't to be Dorrich. I remember Dorrich then came back, did his thing, and the rest was history. So I always knew that I would have to find a way to carve out my niche in cricket or in sport and try to stay relevant. So I actually have a saying, as they call it, a daily affirmation I get. I tell myself, stay relevant. So that's why I pursue my career outside of cricket, or not really outside of cricket, outside of actively playing in
Playing,
rehab.
yeah,
So I do a
yeah,
little coaching, I do a little commentary, try to, trying to do my MPhil there. We're looking at sport and the economy, specifically globalization in cricket, franchise cricket, etc. Opportunities that present themselves. Those whole
yeah.
things, that thing about
Mm-hmm.
players, not want to represent the nation, well, the West Indian nation because of money and this and that. So looking at that kind of issues. As I said, it gave me some time to reflect. I really didn't have a choice. It wasn't that much else to do but be out to pasture, and it helped me to see cricket from a different angle. So now when I coaching and stuff, even this evening I was talking on the 19th, speaking to them about the relevance of using the brains, not only your brawn, and understanding your game, understanding where you're at, understanding yourself, building that future for yourself, going to school and actually, as my man Hassani would say, you're gonna learn something. It's very, very important because I, I honestly say cricket is life, but sport in general is life. And when you're a sportsman, then you can marry that with some book sense and the academics, etc. You actually put yourself in a pretty good position. So
Facts.
that's basically it for me. So that's the backstory. I love the game, and that's probably why I transitioned to coaching the way I have. And as Fed rightfully said, I actually work a lot with Floyd, like a lot. I work with Floyd a lot, and I work with Floyd from when he was obviously back then to now. And the way how he coaches, the intensity that he brings. I actually trained the coach, Fed, as you will know, I trained with all guys. And even yesterday was doing some beer crawls on for you and you working at people beer crawls.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
I actually train to coach because I try to stay fit and as I said, stay relevant and bring that intensity. So we would throw arm, Floyd would throw arm for like hour and a half, 2 hours straight. I would do the same thing at these young boys, stay relevant, stay competitive, stay with them, play some handball, that kind of stuff. So I find myself now in that space where I'm looking to give back knowledge, try to help fellas not to make the same mistakes that I made, take certain things for granted, etc. And obviously embracing new changes in the game as well because that's the other thing. The game has evolved so much. The
Facts.
game has evolved so much
It's true.
that and just one minor modification. I will share this with you. We're looking at the Barbadian cohort right now for the West Indies on the 19s, and we actually have been doing a lot of reverse sweeping and thinking, etc. Remember when those things were taboo, and you're
Right.
not supposed to play this shot and that kind of shot, but these are
Play
shots that
straight.
Jason Rowan and
Can't
them
play
fellas is playing
crossbody
now.
shots.
Yeah, so it's about equipping these guys
It's
with new
true.
skills, new technology, opening them up to new ways of thinking. And so far, it's actually been pretty receptive. So I could endorse the way how Floyd was about his business. Rohan Nurse as well, top man. And we just there now trying to do our thing. So that's where I'm at right now as far as the cricket is concerned. I think I'm going to commentate the one series as well. I think so. I saw an email, but I've seen many emails before, but we will see.
So, a very interesting story
Impressive,
there,
yeah.
Jamal. Like, true. Very, very, very well
Kudos,
said.
yeah.
Very, very well
Yeah.
said. Good story. Very good. Interesting story. That is true.
Good night, Mr. Smith, and no getting to welcome you to the show. I nearly didn't make it tonight. I nearly had a verse on that Trojan rhythm, so I don't know what will become of me tonight. So you would have mentioned that you obviously would have played on Captain Empire. So how was it, or what strategies you used to captain such personalities and ego? 'Cause obviously you would have had some current players, some superstar players, and obviously
Yeah.
Ryan Hines, Ryan Nurse that had JP at that time in. So yeah, how was it?
So,
I give you
Searles.
okay a little backstory. I actually didn't expect the Captain Empire. Jason Hayes was just finishing, and he told me that he would like me to succeed him, and I thought the obvious choice would have been Jason Forrest, to be very honest with you. And I asked him his why, and he says because they have the propensity to be a bigger idiot than the rest of these idiots. It was that it was no serious. It was actually profound because my first year, I struggled a lot. I'd be very honest with you because they were this captain and parent particular at that time. You say it was a power team. You got 9 first class boys, and you're under a lot of pressure in terms of trying to win games. And they realized that it was more than just setting cover, mid off, extra cover, etc. It was more mind management, trying to get the best of this Sean Green fed your mind, most negative mind in the world.
Yeah,
Sean Green,
boy, Shorty.
and you
So
have
passive aggressive, yeah.
yeah, they have Ryan Hines with 4 different personalities on any given day, or in any given session. Ryan
Yeah,
Hines
boy.
with 4 different personalities. Then you have Alexander who's just gonna be cool all the time. That Searles is a guy that
Facts.
you have to squeeze things out of. Kevin Stoke, they call him Stoke sometimes. Kevin is a fella he wants to do well, but sometimes he gets so wrapped up in trying to do well that he forgets that we're playing with a team. So trying to manage all these personalities over time, I felt like they got better. I'd probably say year 3 or 4, I really started to come into my own with those guys. But again, being at Empire Academy, Empire was another life experience for me because it was not only about on the field, there's a lot of administrative work to do. I'm actually still secretary at Empire Club right now. I think it's like 5 years now or something that got me trapped there. And you find yourself,
Man, many hats.
yeah,
Can't let go.
you find yourself having to administer, you find yourself having to captain, you find yourself having to counsel, find yourself having to break up fights before the start. It's a whole lot of things. And that's why I told Nero last year that I felt that he was the man. I felt like he was the man to keep leading in Yorkshire, but he just needed to stop being so nice. Because at the end of the day, when you make decisions as a leader, regardless if you're right or wrong, have to make a decision. And good
Facts.
leaders make decisions. And in making decisions, you will not
Uh,
always have the support of everyone, but the aim is to get support in the majority. And you can't please everybody. So
correct.
as an experience, being at Empire, even all know
It's
being a
true.
secretary, having issues with the COVID stuff and people wondering protocols coming out and actually blaming me for keeping the club shut and that kind of stuff as if I Carol Chapman in the COVID unit, etc. You find yourself in a situation where you have to learn to manage personalities all the time. So I would really encourage any young man that's looking towards leadership to do it because it's something that, as I said, it starts to define you as a person. I could say I'm the better for it. Never mind, I had to fight many a battle at that club and still fighting, but that's how it is.
Mm.
And secondly, I don't know if my memory serves me correctly,
Yes,
but
remember?
obviously we would have had when I was growing up, it would have been Courtney Brown. Then it would have been a stint with Patrick. And then from there, remember Shane Dorich. But I say this to say, is there any specialist keepers per se? Obviously, we'll have the coaches that will have the drills and stuff like that. But in your case, where you was actually a former wicket keeper, you would know certain things, the kinks of keeping, etc. Are there any specialist keepers, coaches in Barbados?
I am the specialist.
Specialist
You know,
keeper. I
I am the
figure.
specialist. I am the specialist keeping coach. I did it because I tried to cut out a niche for myself. As I said, to try to
Correct.
stay relevant.
Stay
You know,
relevant.
stay
Mm-hmm.
relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually was born out of in 2011. I think it was. I had a conversation with Courtney Brown. We were in Ghana. I think he was at that time, and I was having a lot of difficulty keeping him to Anderson Sealy, like the most erratic spinner you could ever come across. And God
Tell me
forbid,
about it.
God, God forbid the pitch is rising and Anderson Sealy pitching the ball middle and leg that ball and spin down your leg, say you can throw on, say or stump. And I felt real. I know it was, I felt I didn't feel organized. So I remember speaking to Courtney. I was like, man, I'm having a lot of trouble, and I was looking more for this man, this kind of attitude, like man, that easy. But Courtney was like, Jamal, let me explain something to you. And then he went through the rudiments of it, keeping with me, and we were sharing some of that experiences. But obviously, he's kind of tall, etc. And then I realized, well, look, there's actually something to this. I never had this kind of dialogue before. So then I started to open up to other keepers, and I realized, you know, something. There's actually something there. It is a specialist job. And then I started to get into the mode of telling Floyd what I want done or how I want to prepare. Instead of him coming to me and doing the run of the mill things, just hitting a couple flat balls and that kind of stuff. No, no, no. Started YouTubing stuff and thinking, finding my own niche for myself because wanting Floyd, they point out to me that I'm an unorthodox keeper. I never had the normal stuff. I'm already at 6'7", 6'8". People believe I can't get the job done. I used to take that personally. It's my personal mission to keep well. So as I said, you know, over the years I came up with a lot of formulas. So like for instance, whenever I deal with young keepers, before you even hit a ball, my first session is always at least an hour just saying no talking. And when these guys start to open up and share the issues, better as you know, you drop a ball at 10:01, create no start, you want to hold to dive in. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to learn to get faster mentally and understand you're only human, etc. God forbid you got a bullet right hands or somebody who can cuss you blind the entire day. They're not gonna let you forget. So I can even
Yeah,
take it
you know
closer.
that.
I can even take it closer for home. For instance, remember when Shane Dowich in the New Zealand series early on there was an edge and he didn't go for the ball and Gabriel all the man and I tell you I could see that Gabriel is one of the meanest fast bowlers to drop or catch off for. That kind of things kind of dampen your spirit and put you in a very bad psychological state. You know, and then the next thing
Yeah.
talking to keepers is about what your strengths and your weaknesses. What do you think about your keeping, where you're weak? Because we don't realize it, but most keepers are gonna catch the standard ball that's gonna come through, etc. But everybody has a weakness. For me, it used to be that farm over,
Yeah.
particularly Ryan Hines, that foolish ball because Ryan Hines has a beautiful arm ball, especially if the ball knew he would drift out. That ball landing near the crease line,
Yeah.
etc. Probably would get up a little too early, and then he'd get one to actually spin from inside there. You know, sometimes
Spin.
it look a
Yeah.
little. It don't happen too often, but you know,
You murder. You
then
murder.
you can order for murder, and you know he put you in
Well,
that
you're bad.
that's it. So I try to help my young keepers to first of all affirm their space, let them know that bowlers cannot dictate how you organize yourself behind the stump. They must take the direction from you, and this is your space. This is the hardest job on the field, and they're not doing it, so they don't have the right to abuse you. You have to grow a very thick skin. You have to understand your game. You have to understand your process, your takes, because there's some psychological things as well in terms of even superstition. Some guys like to knock the gloves 3 times and 4 times, all kind of things go into it. You know, a lot of people see
Yeah.
on TV. A lot of people see on TV a fella will drop a ball and it come through. Man, he didn't catch that ball that time. Like Kimar Watch, for instance, man, he balls coming through, the ball wobbling, and the ball dancing. I talk about that
It's
dancing
true.
left or right.
Yeah,
Talk about
boy.
doing like that. You see that Kensington over with them big white side screens, and you looking at it, you just see that little dot and it starting to do like that. It's a serious thing. So all the little things going to keep in, and later as you find when you talk to them and they open up themselves and they realize, well, okay, I have similar problems as well. Then obviously as coaches will assess them and see if their points are relevant and where can improve them, etc. But as a whole, I call it the keepers union. So we have our own corner, we do our own thing, we have our own drills, we put them on site, and I will always make sure that I make them bold. And the next thing too is to love the job. If you don't love the job, you see it as a chore, you're prone to do more ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem that we have right now in Barbados and even up to
That a lot of people don't like the yeah.
so we have batsmen that catching the ball but don't really want to catch the ball, and that's not
That
what
don't
we
really let
want.
it keep yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Looking at runs, they mean looking at
Yeah,
especially
and especially if the mate just about as much as a batter,
batter.
to get yeah. So that's where you get a little confused. So as I said, for me, my coaching style is the thought process first, then we get into these skills. Everybody has their own way of going about stuff, but that's where I try to make my intervention with young keepers in particular. I actually was working with Doe on Saturday because he comes around on Saturday mornings. And we had a very good conversation about keeping it. Was working with Rivaldo Clark, as I said, preparing those guys. And we were talking about reversing and standing back, etc. And I was actually impressed with those knowledge of his own keeping and what his weaknesses are. He was brutally honest too. And that's the first conversation you have to have with yourself as a keeper. What you're not reversing well. A lot of guys that don't reverse well, especially when the pace up, you have to reverse. You don't want to send the sticks too far
Yeah.
back. You want to be catching the ball with your side because you send the sticks back. That's an issue that Doe had. I hope that when they see him again internationally, that he would have corrected that. Have to want the ball, you have to be catching the reverse in a base position, keep your head out the way at the last minute. All those little things. There's so much technical things that go into it. I can't get into it
Yeah.
all, but the long and short of the story is I cut out the niche for myself, and I'm very glad that's the topic that actually gave me the opportunity. I sent to Excellence, he called me, he said, Bert, I want you to come. I want you to come and do these young keepers for me. You know what I mean? I see you doing your work and thing, and I think you need some special attention. As I said, then you keep updating yourself, your knowledge, you do your YouTubing, you talk to other keepers, you even invent some things. You create your own things, especially based on on how the player is going. And yeah, it's
Mhm.
fun. It's fun for me, man. I mean, and that's notwithstanding that I have the other coaching skills as well. But I focus on keeping at that level. At Yorkshire, I'm everything. I do bowling. I hear somebody say that Nero is an off-break bowler. That's really not true. Nero does not spin the ball, even when the wicket is bad.
Gee.
Thank you
Thanks,
very much.
coach.
Thank you very much.
Only
Thank you
1920
very much.
last year, not fair, not a fair assessment.
Thank you very much.
Just
I
say,
You say
just
you don't spin the ball, Nero?
only T20 last year. Hand it to that for that.
I
I
made
was
a promise
keeping
to myself that I will ease off of the road bowling, but I glad that you
The
said what you
coach.
said.
Cause
Yeah,
you know the
coach, what you
captain,
said.
the,
Coach.
the, the captain Craig would have probably said to give you confidence. A captain supposed to inspire
Yeah,
you. So
yeah,
the coach
yeah,
can be brutally honest.
yeah. But interesting
Man,
that
Nero is only spin the ball if you wicket bad.
not even then.
Anytime you pick the ball spin and Nero ball, the wicket gotta be bad.
Fed, I can be
Pitch
honest with
gotta be
you.
real bad.
Fed, we played 60, 20 games last year, and the Roar did not spin one single ball when they were doing stuff. I did very honest with you, not even one.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
JS, be
Um,
rest
I
with
know,
KS. Be rest with
I
KS,
know, I
JS.
know.
Rest with
they have
KS.
nothing to say. I have nothing to say on that. I want to hear.
Ricky, we hear you. Peanut, man.
Yeah, really.
I just listening. But I going off with the coaching aspect of it into the commentary side of things here now. I personally just enjoy listening to you
Yeah,
as
me
well.
too.
So I want to keep up the good work.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
want to know who you enjoy working with in the commentary scene and commentators that you look up to you would set your hooks to.
My favorite commentator to work with would have to be Andrew Mason, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Mm.
It's Andrew
Oh
Mason.
my golly.
Without a doubt. I honestly believe that Andrew is the best ball by ball commentator in the region. I know people have their views on what he likes to talk
Agreed.
about otherwise. But
Mhm.
when Andrew's on song, man, it's like magic. And to be honest with you, I have gotten to the stage where Andrew we're working together. I don't have to look at him. I don't have to wait for any cues. We just have that synergy going. And I know I actually told him 2 weeks ago I'm looking forward to working with him. He gave me that long,
Yeah, he's got you there.
that's Andrew. And I would say when Andrew is focused on the cricket, he does a good job. And to be fair, even sometimes his extras are needed because some his is just a little
The
love
players be a
story.
little, yeah.
I can be very honest with you. Those TV guys, they get away with a lot of murder. TV is very easy to do. Radio is where the work is at, especially if the rain is falling or you have to fill a space. If there are no ads running or that kind of stuff, it's
Mhm.
actually tedious work.
Mm.
Pete does his thing as well. Can't leave him out. Keith is meticulous. He has his files and he's doing his thing. Personally, though, I like Philip Hackett. I like Philip Hackett a lot. I think he asks intelligent questions. He has a pretty good knowledge of the game. So those three in particular, I don't want to leave anyone, but those three in particular, but certainly Andrew is my favorite to work with. Obviously because he's contentious, he keeps me on my toes. He's always in my business. He's always in everybody's business.
He hilarious. Man saying the fish cake lady's not like that. Can I have two
Yeah,
fish
man.
cake? And make
He makes it cricket. He makes it cricket.
great fun. So you feel it, yeah, the cricket.
Man,
This is true.
Yeah.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt, and as I said, he's also producing most of the time whenever he's on, and the ease that he just comes straight into the box and does what he does. I mean, it is actually I have a lot of respect. The two areas in cricket that I would say that after experiencing it for myself, I have a lot of respect for them. It's commentary and obviously groundsman work. As Fed and Nero with no, I'm the resident groundsman at Yorkshire right now. I have 3 squares at Yorkshire. We calling it
Good job, good job.
but I actually that was born out of working with Apple, the late great Apple, Richard Applewhite. But then obviously he died. I got a close relationship with Bird and started to understand things from those guys' perspectives, especially guys that just pull out and roll all day and stuff. Is actually scraping work and it's very unforgiving. And to be fair to those guys, I think they do a pretty good job with the resources that they have, and especially for the money that they're asked to work for. So those are two jobs I would say: the commentary and the groundsman work that on closer inspection, actually doing it for myself, I realize that there's an art to it. Those ball by ball commentators, I'm telling you, fellas, those fellas that go with ball by ball commentary is no joke.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
For me, Jamal might amaze what you
Now,
is
now,
at your height. The whole like when you tell like you just see this tall man, you think, all right, well, this gonna be a big fast bowler. So you see, come on over. So you're anxious to see there was and then you see the man like just like every diving for a catch, he needs to be living for first, second, and third set, because he that tall, and the full stretch.
I see.
you
I
want a big
see.
match, man.
I, I see Bert. I see Bert keep
Burn
ready,
a big
man.
diver.
Yeah.
I see
And
Bert
you
keep
know,
Big
ready.
guys, man.
yeah, so that was one thing I love to see you the keeping you for such a tall person, you were so graceful behind the wicket, like movement. It wasn't
I
how
always
people
felt like
say it
I
was
had,
hard. It was limber for
I
tall.
always
It was
felt,
limber.
I always felt like I had a point to prove, and I used to train very, very hard. To be very honest with you, I know eyes you always used to be on me. I remember one year I was going to Guyana after the one day tournament, and Ben look at me, he was like, "Man, you give me a beer boys down there, ball keep low." I said, "You don't know me, brother." I got the plan. And the second ball he did, Chris Gill charged Jason Dawes and he hit him somewhere down Georgetown. The third ball, the third ball came through. The third ball came through and it bounced in front of me. I scooped it up. It was like, yeah, I'm not letting a big man go buy on this tour bank and trick. They went straight on the stump and they keep on the stump. The rest of the day, that was my little trick. I keep on the stump. Anytime I low, I used to compensate for my height by going straight on the. I don't care who you are. I keep on the stump. And I was very effective on the day and does. And I came back buyless. And I remember telling Ben, not one single bite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Ghana. So Berkey, I know you're into coaching and thing now. Where Jamal will see himself in terms of the next 2-3 years in the field of coaching? Where you would like to see yourself, or where you would
Okay.
like to be?
There's something that I did not mention. I actually work for the Ministry of Sport right now as a sports development consultant. So for me to
Bert,
say,
you wear a lot of hats, man.
You got a
oh
lot of
yeah,
hot, man.
some,
You're a
some,
magician.
Wearing that
sometimes
part with you.
sometimes I'm stretched pretty thin, but my point is that it may not necessarily be coaching. I'm actually enjoying my stint there so far, and the work that I've been asked to do is very exciting. It's not only cricket centered, actually dealing with sport in general. As I tell, as a young sportsman, like youngish, you know the challenges I went through and trying to remedy some of the ills if you can with limited resources, etc. I have about 2 months on changing and it's actually pretty exciting. Actually, we're doing a road tennis project right now, working on road tennis, feverishly trying to get off the ground and get to a stage where, as the minister would have articulated in the papers, putting me under a little more pressure that there will be something big going on for road tennis by the end of the year. So looking at the other sports, I dealt with surfing a bit, have some conversation with Brian Tom. I have to get back to that, and netball, volleyball, all the issues that they face. You kind of realize that I like to say guys in our age group, and I say our age group, anybody who's still between 30, 40 range, that decade, we have a lot of responsibility on us to help advance the cause of sport in general, not only cricket. And some of us are going to fill those administrative roles, etc. And even roles that, are past administrative in terms of people that make high top level decisions. So what I would say is that I don't know where Jamal Smith, the coach, will be, say, 2, 3 years from now. What I can say is that Jamal Smith is working on a holistic approach, trying to administer if he can. And obviously, the coaching is always there to fall back on, so to speak. But so far, the two have been working well, been able to manage my workload with the ministry and still do my coaching, as I said, with the on the 19 cohort. But at this stage, I can't say for sure whether going one way or the other. The commentary is there, but that's another story. I've been very honest and frank. I find if you're not a farmer test player, there's only so far you can go. The season is very short, and I'm a very tall guy. I can't stand in that room. It's unfortunate, it goes down to who gets contracts and who they prefer to select or whatever. Andrew always tell me I'm his number one. I appreciate that. But seriously speaking, the opportunities that are there for advancement for people that have not necessarily played test cricket or are enough first class where to be recognized as guys that would have given a large contribution is again large enough to be considered for serious roles in the cricket. I think that mindset needs to change as well. The guys that have not gone on, so to speak, have a lot to offer. And in sport in general as well, and these are the little things that we haven't started reading out. So that's why you particularly said the guys from 30 to 40, those guys that finished the first degree, probably studying a master's or finished the master's, going on to a PhD or whatever, but have decisions to make are aware of the times, are aware of some of the challenges that they would have faced as sportsmen, etc. We have a big responsibility. So all I can say for now is I wear many hats, trying to get to that point where I probably just have one big sombrero on, but we will see.
Jamal, you made an interesting point. You made an interesting point about commentary, and use familiar voices, but eventually these guys getting fade out and then get all the Masons. Why isn't as a succession plan in terms of commentary training? These guys, the Masons that have the knowledge, just to sit down, get because as you said, there's so much avenues that a person. Let me use myself for me. And I love the sport. I ain't getting away, but it's a family sport. I know the game. You can say, all right, there's a niche here for you. Commentary training you want as a young. This is something you could thrive in because you might not have the on-field technical ability, but you might got a brilliant mind in terms of remembering stats and you got a good voice. You could talk. So to me, there's an opportunity like that. I'm glad that there's a lot of young on right now. So if you could do it like that, and as you mentioned, take you along for a little internship and Sahada, you learn the ropes. Obviously, you can meet players, and then some clubs I think is do live streaming. Some clubs do their own live streaming, so you could get a little gig there, and you're find your footing from there. So I think like that's an avenue, and you can speak to the powers that be, and say that you could groom people throughout the region, not only in Barbados but throughout the region. So the same way you got a pool of creators, a talent pool of umpires, groundsmen the same way, a talent pool of young commentators, so that the cycle just keep going and you don't all hear the same or voices on every tour. For regional cricket now, you will bring the young people to get them, opportunity to hear a different voice.
All right, I can respond to that. I can respond to that by saying this, right? I actually got a message today. I was warned about coming on this show from the point of view that it's more freestyle, and I told the guy that I know when to be political and how to be political. But again, as I stated very early in the show, I also call it as I
Stay
say it.
here, boy.
So I be very honest with y'all guys. There's no pathway. I think Andrew Mason has started trying to develop a pathway from the point of view that there's some younger voices that he's experimented with. Shane Ramsey was doing a little work. Don't forget Antonio Trini Ali. I think he has all the tendency to be a wonderful ball commentator. He's very knowledgeable. He's articulate. He has a nice voice. He understands things. But there were only a few of us around, and they're being very honest. People stop me in everyday life and say, "Well, okay, so I'm going on the radio, etc." When they can hear you again, and I will have to say something like, "Well, I don't know, I have to wait on the powers that be." So it's a case where you don't know if you can get the work, and as I said before, pretty much based on who gets the contract. If Andrew gets the work, I know he can get work. If other guys get work, I can't
Lost two
guarantee that I
people
can
there,
get work.
Ross, Jakes,
Yeah,
and Smith.
You
yeah,
understand
yeah.
what I'm saying? And again, as I tell you, people have this attitude that if you have not played test cricket, and I see it a lot too sometimes in the comments on social media, and it annoys me. A guy would say something like, "You can't make a comment about a player because you never play this amount of things or
True.
whatever."
Why
But
not?
then we have some so-called legends, and they say so-called, not disrespecting them because they have done very well
Stupidness.
on the field.
Stupidness.
But they can basically say anything they want. They can do anything they want, or and there's no repercussions for that. And it's like, okay, we should give them a job just because you know what? There's a lot of hypocrisy that goes on in the
Correct.
industry, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not right. It's not fair to the
Mm-hmm.
young men that are actually trying to make a difference. Because and you could even and you know and the one thing that stuck out to me, every single man from the old boys club that comes to congratulate me on commentary always says the same thing. You could be the next Tony Cozier. In my mind, I am like, okay, I'm hearing you, but Tony Koja was wrong in a time when radio broadcasters, in particular, were respected for their profession as journalists and would be allowed that
Correct.
opportunity. But in this current moment, and as you would know, there's been a shift, particularly on TV, where the TV commentators are almost always former
Always.
former
Players.
international players.
Yeah,
Then there's the other movement now. We have to include if it's gender, we have to include the females. So
Females.
females.
the
But
space now becomes tighter. And don't get me wrong,
uh-huh.
I have no problems with the females
No.
commentating and the
Mhm.
diversity is fine. But what I'm saying is you're focusing on that. But then you again, as you said, you have youngsters who may be able to come through, who their player careers probably ended early, but they're pretty much young and very much just like all you all guys who understand the game and know certain
Mhm.
perspectives, etc. And here we are in a box, not knowing whether or not we're gonna get work because another guy only picked
Big,
former test players. They're being very honest and they're being
no, no,
brutally
Jamal,
honest.
no, I
You
respect
understand?
that. I appreciate that.
Because I know what's barred for me, you know, it's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's unfortunate because we do our work. For instance, Antonio Ali, he makes me miserable. Stats on top of stats on top of stats. If I'm going to do this job, like for instance, I've seen an email relative to the home series. I guarantee you that at least 2 or 3 weeks before the home series starts, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go over South African names, pronunciations. I'm going to go over those little things. I remember a statistician complaining to me when I first started saying, "Man, you don't call for me, you don't need me for nothing." In my head, I'm like, "This is my job, but this is what I come to do." So I do my research. So I'm not gonna be commentating cricket and lean over and ask the statistician, but wait, how much runs he scored last year? I supposed to know that though. That's how I feel about it. And that's not. And I'm saying the statistician always has his role because there are obviously some things historically, especially that you will not know. But my point is that there's a lot of effort and there's a method. Because I'm a researcher by nature, this is how I go about my business. And as I could speak for Antonio Allen as well, he does that. But then you have a case where you have guys that just come in and order right in on the horse, to come in and go on the mic to say what they have to say. And sometimes they say things that probably they shouldn't be saying, but at the end of the day, they have tests don't say their name, so they're not graded with the same sheet as us, and they're
But
guaranteed work. And that must change. There must be a pathway.
correct.
And the minister of sport actually says it all the time. He walks through his office and he looks at me and says, "Jamal, we have to create global citizens. We have to create more jobs over sport. What's going on with the commentary? What's going on with this and that?" There are avenues for young men out there, but you know, it's a case where people are, I guess, afraid of our
Mhm.
views and our expressions on the one hand. On the other hand, they're just being plain greedy. Being very honest.
So I totally
It's
agree with that.
facts, facts, facts,
I
facts.
agree, and as you say, it's just greed,
Mm.
and but you don't understand like succession planning. Not everybody would have played Gandhi testing for various reasons, but the mind. But if you get a younger person an opportunity, you know you can inspire the generation around you. My friend, let me tell you that my friend Jason's a commentator. No, I can listen, I can tune in. I'm a cricket fan, but I can listen in to hear my man Jason my commentary. Cause he's
I
my
know.
friend.
And not only that, you just touched on a very relevant point. What you are doing then is you're creating more interest in the same game because the younger cohort, the guys, man, I want to listen to Bert today. I want to listen to Antonio Ali, I want to listen to Ram, I want to listen to Sheen Jones, whoever, because these guys bringing things that are relevant to our time. But again,
Precisely.
but again, these people, I believe they know and they understand. It's just not willing
It's
to do it,
greed, greed.
and it's unfortunate. It's really
Yeah,
unfortunate.
but yeah,
The space is
Everyday
so
life, boy.
ridiculously small that you would never imagine. And then when you were getting concessionary, as far as I'm concerned, concessionary speeches for administrators about you're doing a good job, keep it up, and yeah, give me a break. Provide some access and opportunities, not for only myself, but for other
But
young
for
men that
other
want
young
to come
people,
through. Because as this question you asked me is very relevant. You know how many people walk into the street or we laymen and very men like ma, but how you become a content commentator or an analyst, right? I can tell you how I became an analyst. Andrew Mason see me one day at a UV game, like one night. And I was walking past. He's like, man, Jamal, come in here, do some comments. Somebody was sick or something. I was like, me, man, I don't know commentary. He was like, man, come here, sit down, man. Let me see your work. And I sit down, you stick the mic in my face, and I do what I have to do. And I'm saying just based on cricket knowledge, no training whatsoever, mass communication, whatever. And he said to me, man, I want you to come back tomorrow. I was like, okay. You understand? Tomorrow, turn another day. But my point is that I would like to at least be the catalyst or the moment that these people start to realize was a let us get some younger men into this thing. Let us get some men that are not necessarily test cricketers and they want stress that I cannot stress that enough. There's no way that in a sport that we all know and love, because I refer to cricket as being coined that way before, cricket is a public good. You cannot tell me or determine or dictate how far I can go in cricket. You could determine that on the field, but off the field, all the ancillary jobs that there are, everything else that
facts,
this
you
is
have,
facts.
you
facts.
cannot decide that you only boxing to a certain or beating the drum to a certain set of people. It is ridiculous, and they've been very honest and very frank about it. And if this show
Huh.
goes how you wait and they get some messages or you don't get some or
Oh,
some way more,
nah,
I really don't
this,
give a damn.
this one of these shows. But you know,
I,
Jamal,
I don't care.
you made that point about the boxing thing. Imagine if it's not for this platform, Jason, I really decide, man, we the going pitching this show. That man said, man, nah, man, but they know that, man, cricket. But they gonna test, but they gonna test knowledge. But
Yeah.
we came up with the show because we see it. We calling it as fans of the game and people how we want to see the cricket, how we want to sit down and view the cricket in a few years, the on and off. And obviously we interviewing different people like yourself, Yanka, to hear different opinions, different backgrounds. And the guys will tell you we have people listening to the show who are not cricket lovers but tune in because they're friends of us or they listen and they learn little things and they say, well,
Facts,
when they watch
facts.
this now, I can pick up on this. I didn't know he went like man come here, share the story how he went through the hurricane. I myself I forgotten about it, rebought the question, and person was like, well, that was real rough. So it allows the viewers to see a different side of you, the cricketer. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
cause you
yeah.
come out here, you peel by layers is a free for all. You know, you speak your heart. So respectfully, I should say, speak your heart respectfully and your minds. But you know, you helping other people, you're drawing other people to the sport, and that's what we basically do the show about. So your opinion and what you know said, I wholeheartedly agree with, and I believe that maybe probably you're the catalyst. You never know. Maybe you're the
Yeah,
catalyst to
boy,
clear
yeah,
the
yeah.
pathway.
And honestly, for how he's answering these questions and just listening to him, boy, I definitely I would nominate him. I would nominate him to be the captain. That's the truth. He's definitely speaking fast, and I love and agree with 100% with everything that he's saying. He's really hitting the nail on the head on his head tonight. I'm not sure if you guys had any more questions for Bert. Any really, Collymore, you guys any more questions for Bert?
You
You
get
good?
the next one. You get the big topic.
Yeah,
Bro.
yeah.
Cool, man.
The as we can see, Bert, I want to get your thought on this as question as well. But as we can see, we have a practice match going on here. And I just want to ask this question. When don't let me say when. Do the guys think that we're wasting? I don't want to say wasting time, but I'm gonna say wasting time. Are we wasting time with not having sheer hope in this West Indies test side. I know sheer hope had a very dry patch where he wasn't scoring any runs. I mean, it happens to the best of us. It happens to the well, not the best of us because I'm not. It happens. It happens to. It happens to the best of them, I should say. But at the end of the day, we cannot dispute that just going based off of talent, that Shea Hope is probably the best batsman in the West Indies team. We just based off of talent.
Not probably, James. Not probably. He is.
Correct. Okay, he is. And we see that he's scoring heavily. He came back, he scored runs in the one days series against Sri Lanka, and we know we see that how he's looking in this practice match now. So I just want to get the guys' take on that. Really gonna start here with you. Do you think that we should just say that it's just time to get Shea Hope back in the testing, or do we continue to let Shea Hope probably play these games and probably play first class and try to work his way up and probably try to prove himself again?
Really care?
Let me put it this way. I give you short answer, but yeah, you carry me? You carry me?
Oh yeah,
we can hear you. Really, go ahead.
Want to hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Short and simple. To open the Shea Hope, it's Craig Bartlett and Shea carry on smart team next
So
really in the test series is Craig Bartlett and Shea Hope. Can part of the fade. I hear you.
You putting a top of your order?
Started, Jeff.
Ma,
over for me.
No.
You open a top of the order. That is your ideal position for Shea Hope, or is just that you just want to get rid of George Campbell so bad that you slot him in Shea Hope like that?
No. No, really speaking, well, yes, I want to get rid of George Campbell bad, but realistically speaking, I want to see him opening against South Africa.
You want to see him opening? Okay.
He's not there doing that. He just has to open for me.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. Nero, I know Shea Hope is your guy, so
This is that as a Shea Hope fan, but what I would say is yes, it's time for Shea to be back in the white clothes, but not as an opener. Not as an opener. Obviously, there's a glaring position there next to Craig. They're outstanding contenders to fill the spot. Obviously, Mosley didn't grab the opportunity in Bangladesh or etc. So obviously, she has exploits in white ball cricket. Persons gonna make that the easiest option, but white ball and red ball is two different things.
Facts.
But I just think obviously after the time he had the bad patch he had, I just think he should come back in the Test cricket, but not as an opener, probably as a number 4, number 5 batter. But I could see that's what's going to happen because it's just glaring. I don't want it to happen, but I know that's what is going to happen.
You don't want what to happen, Nero, to be
come into the squad and open in the next Test series.
So you feel that's going to happen, Nero?
It close, boy. It close. The problem might start Campbell because the winning Bangladesh and the draw the last Test series, but it gotta be very, very close right now.
I think Reedy was saying something.
They're very close.
Well, no, Nero's talking about the problem with Stark Campbell because of what happened in Bangladesh and the draw. Yeah, fair point. But the win in Bangladesh and the draw against Sri Lanka, What John Campbell do?
Now we're telling it close. Now we're telling it close.
And I've been in that
Now
draw.
we're telling it close. So yes, it's time for you to come back, but not as an opener.
My answer will probably shock a lot of people and the viewers because I was very
Hassani,
hard on share or whatever. But honestly,
now you say no, can't drop me.
honestly, fellas, I am 90% of the opinion that he should open the batting in the series. We should give you a run. I watching that warm-up game convinced me enough, Jason. Right, Nero? I can cross to your side. Give him a run. Because when Kieran Powell got I was like, shh. I was loving it, but Powell was for sure out of a century. So my other 10% is Kieran Powell, but I for sure, without a shadow, without any going back to John Campbell, he cannot open. So I 90% share, 10% Powell to open. So
Powell? I don't put too much thought into the practice games, right? But I just think how everything unfolding.
John Campbell,
I could see that. That's
but not even the passes again, they wrote John Campbell scoring 20. He might have been top her and come back and then contribute to score.
So that two openers carry on.
Yeah. What about you, Smitty?
I don't.
Our fan.
All right, so
I don't. Shea's the best batsman. Shea gotta be his side, hands down. But to open with Shea, to me, nah. You first of all, you gotta ask Shea where he want back. To me, that's the first thing you gotta do. Because he's the best batsman. And if he's comfortable at, and to be honest, the position that available should be probably number 4. Because Bonner gonna start. No, Bonner got heroics and whatever. Bonner gonna start. So that number 4 spot at Bravo Brooks, Shea gonna start.
Right.
You understand? So I went open with he got to play. I open it with John Campbell gonna
but
maintain he play.
Number 4 spot right now.
John Campbell gonna maintain he play due to the fact that he is.
My father saying off for John. I can't
say come up for.
I can't sign off for John Campbell playing though. I can't sign sign off for he playing. Roberto can eat for lunch and dinner.
But he got open. He got play.
What you were saying? You were saying something, really?
Nah, boy, fat boy. I hear you.
No, I was asking you if you were saying something to what Colin Moore was saying.
I hear just yes.
We get some bad reception.
I was saying that Nuggy start as the incumbent 3, but Colin is the incumbent 4.
Kind of balance.
Which I agree with. I believe Colin should be like a 5, at least a 6.
Yeah, I Shea got play, but I don't
believe 4 is he.
I don't open it with Shea.
For lack of a better word.
But basically, South Africa got 9 more wickets to get. Already off the bat, they only got 9 more wickets to get. So you just get South Africa wicket to start, Jace. They got 9 more men to go. Good. 9 more men to go.
And Shea still, although he got perfect patch change his practice games and things, don't forget, Bravo scored David won his practice games still, no, in New Zealand.
Yeah,
series.
No, that was the first class. That was against New Zealand opposition. That was not in the squad, sir.
I ain't saying no, but he's just saying Shea is the best. But
that was in the squad.
Don't let me gas me up too high. And then the next week, because he test average and he test scores, still is the problem in the area for concern.
Yeah, fair, but in order to improve those areas of concern,
he has to play. He has to play. All I say is, don't let him toot he hard too early. Because end of the day, we talking about John Campbell, right? But Rabada and that man still gonna bowl that shit, with the new ball.
Okay,
I
okay.
shit.
So Ja-
I ain't watched much of
For
the
sure.
game, but I don't know if he correctly throw. He had
Mm.
we
falling
gonna ask
over. Then again,
Court Smith.
so once he correct that, be blessed. Be
Fair,
Court
blessed.
fair.
Smith,
Cause
we
God
vote for
good.
you. You go. Let me see what side defense you on, Court Smith.
The last time that I opened my mouth in a public forum about shareholder, I received death threats. No, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna start this analysis on the back of what Federal said. I still some believe that until shareholder alleviates that problem on just on top of the off stamp the ball nipping back in particular, he's going to be a target for world class fast bowlers. That's taking nothing away from his batsmanship and want to make that very clear. He's a class act, particularly with white ball. But as I said before, he has not convinced me as the best batsman yet. Certainly not as a test opener. I will never forget those two wonderful hundreds at Headingley. I will remember them probably for the rest of my life. I think
Uh,
Nero. I think Nero will use those two centuries as some sort of depiction on his wedding day just to help him with the move. Because I don't think I've come across a bigger shareholder fine than Nero. But
yeah.
having said all of that, it's not a comfortable position to be in where you are looking at a top order and basically swapping a man, moving a man, and hoping that a man will score runs. I think, as I said, we all identify a little technical flaw with Shea, and that's not to say he cannot work it out because, as we said, he's a class act. We know this. We know this, especially when he's in
And he's
form.
a hard worker.
Yes, definitely. You can't take that from Shea. Probably one of the
Yeah,
hardest workers.
correct.
The John Campbell issue the John Campbell issue is a very funny one. I was going on a limb. I was going on a limb and said I believe that John Campbell can play.
Me too.
I don't believe, however, that John Campbell utilizes his time at crease well. I do not think that he understands how to construct innings.
Correct.
To say that we're going to
Correct.
just dash him here in relate to the fact because it's something that I speak about regularly. They call it slowing down the production line. We had introduced Shea Mosley just for two tests, for instance. We clearly see that Shea needs some work, and he was actually playing the conditions that I was hoping that he would have obviously been able to get off. But we could see that Mosley's a guy that needs to spend some more time in first class cricket before he comes back up, for instance. So if we're saying that we're going to go back with Shea at the top of the innings, we have to at least acknowledge the fact that the project may not work as well as we want simply because we're hoping that he has adjusted that technical flaw and we're
Mm.
hoping he can get past that. But if he doesn't, a good point is Riz he's probably more suited down the middle innings in test cricket. I actually believe that his keeping is going on leaps and bounds as well. That's taking nothing away from the silver target to the silver. I'm just saying that by the way. Um, but we have to be realistic when it comes to the principles of white ball cricket. Usually, probably start with two slits, hardly ever a gully. The ball does not move laterally as much. Shea is in a position where he can control his innings, especially from over number. I would say from number 15 or so. And it was a stat that I had seen a while back. It was assessing all the world openers in white ball cricket, and Shea had the lowest strike rate. Again, not taking nothing away from him, but it suggests obviously that he doesn't take any chances early in his innings. And plus, two playing with explosive men like the Evan Lewis's and the Gales, there's no need for that either.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
When you break down his batting, what I noticed in his test batting was that he was spending a lot of time at the crease for limited return. So Shea wasn't like say coming in again, Nick off at his second ball. He's batting like 18, 90 odd balls for like 27, 17, whatever, what have you. Actually, his last test innings was encouraging to me. I don't know if Nero you remember this test. I
Yeah, he
think
was
he made about
aggressive.
40 yards and was
He was
more aggressive.
aggressive.
I
Yeah.
actually personally prefer that style of play. I think that you probably needed to break the mold. So to say that Shea will open behind or he should, from my perspective, I'm 50-50 there because as you say, Campbell returns hasn't been good and Kieran Power has been there before. And are we going on the best game? There's questions we got to
Mm.
answer. I believe that teams will pick off the three P's: politics, potential, and performance, and not necessarily in that order.
Mm.
But there are a lot of factors to consider. But having said that, Shea will certainly be around in the conversation. And more, realistically speaking, if he's not in this next series, more likely he will
Oh, for
be in
sure.
for the next series. So he's going to be here
Yeah,
or there. But the question
yeah.
is whether or not, as we say, he's working on a technical flaw, and whether or not he's going to bat say 4 or 5 as opposed to opening. That's left to be seen. What we're saying though is that we have a pool of players, I guess 14 players, and particularly a set of top order batsmen right now that we have to work with.
Mhm.
We might not want to be willing to, but we have to work with it for the simple fact that what is behind the production line is not that promising. So these guys will have to continue to play and make some more mistakes, and you never know, it might actually work out. John Campbell may score some runs, or Shea may come back. I see this man has time on the head, or Shea may come back. Shea may come back refreshed and actually get off to start, because I suspect too if Shea gets a run of scores in test for hit, probably the rest will be history. Right, Nero, you
Yeah.
probably be able to lift that average from that 26 to up to 36 or so. But that's
That's how you tell you.
definitely
That's how
see.
you
I ain't
tell you.
want you receiving that. I want you receiving the death
I,
trash, Jamal. So I
yeah, well, I'm over that. I always say that any publicity is good publicity. So the bad publicity that came as a result of the comments that I made, I stand by them, and I really not much bothered. I think I have a pretty good eye for cricket, and I know personally what I think. Makes a good batsman and what batsman go through, etc. So as I said, shit 50-50 for me. If he plays, I don't have any argument. If he doesn't start, you can still look at the fact that his form coming up to Test cricket has not been the best. But having said that,
Yeah.
man score 100 best of best. I don't know how much credence the best of best has, because I think it's probably just 1-2 games amongst your peers. So that's another thing to consider. Where we'll move forward, the conversation is to suggest that the West Indies actually have a prime opportunity to move up the rankings, and that's something that I'm watching with interest, because I think the six currently, South Africa and Pakistan, are ahead of them, and these are two teams that, technically speaking, we can overcome if we play the right cricket.
think
And South Africa in particular going through their problems with their
The
team
batting will
setup,
be
the
key in that
quota,
series.
yeah,
Batting
and
will be
all that,
key.
and this and that. And Pakistan, as you know, is a very erratic team. So I'm hoping for the guys' sake that we put together a string of series this year in one series that sees us moving up those test rankings. For me personally, that was signal to me that West Indies cricket is moving forward. And then obviously going into the T20 with that cracker jacker squad, you can never discount the West Indies with that T20 team that we have. So
Facts.
lots of for consideration, but I would say 50-50 on the top order batsman right now. Is neither fish or fowl for me. Other people will obviously have their own opinions, but it's 50-50 all around. We have to work with this core group regardless. Those guys will be around for the next two series or so.
Well said. Well said. Colin Moore, I saw you shaking your head there just now. What,
Disagreeing, disagreeing with Bert, man. Certain things, average and the same best in this team.
mm,
And that's like me scoring runs against Yorkshire in the immediate.
mm,
You
okay. Okay.
understand? That's like me scoring 100 against Yorkshire in the immediate in game
Okay.
one. And so, I mean, I looking for Shea got to be running cricket. But
Mm-hmm.
as Jamal said, Shea ain't out the woods, so to speak. And this is not. I find when you speak about Shea, it seems that you anti Shea, but
Mm-hmm.
he got that technical flaw. Yes, he's our best, but just he can't be keep getting out the same way on. So I just hope that corrected. I mean, see in one days it's silky smooth, which I don't have no problem with, but it's the red
Mm-hmm.
ball. It's the
Mm-hmm.
red ball. You understand? And I looking to see this series because this is the make or break. You understand? For sure. To me, it's the
Mm-hmm.
make or break. Not that we get done with it, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the chance for he to quiet his doubters to say, well, look, we're gonna put some respect on my name, man. I
Correct.
here to
Correct.
stay and score. This can become. You understand? So this is a series for he. This is not because because they got this thing out there that I hate shit. people
Mm.
people say yeah, I don't hate that man. That man's a good. He's a he's a how he's playing cricket is how he's lived. That man's a cool fella, but
Yeah.
I'm an honest fella. I'm an honest fella, Jesse. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And once he correct that, once she correct that, the sky is the limit for share, man.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree. Well, fellas, I mean, I really enjoyed the conversation tonight. Bert,
it's
he really
quality.
dropped some gems. It was very interesting. I learned a lot of myself tonight just listening to Jamal talk. So I really
Issue.
appreciate that. Nero, I know you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let you go
Mr.
ahead before I wrap up.
Yeah, Mr. Smith. Before you go, I just want to know who you would like to see on bench talk. But before that, you have to set us up with the person who you would like to see on the show, man.
Oh, that's very interesting. You gotta tell me what you're looking for, Nero. Like maybe able to help you out. My phone large, you know. I got some big ones for my
Mm.
phone.
Mm.
Who you gotta tell me what you're looking for, Nero?
Shit, you
They
can't
give
get
us some time to
amateur.
think about that.
They can't be too frank, but all right. Hey, we gotta deliberate with the
Who's
fellas,
that
man.
time
What
to
you
think
looking
about
for?
that?
Yeah. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Producers will get back to you.
Well, like I said earlier, Jamal, like I said, the conversation tonight is
Just
very interesting. I
one thing quick before
really,
you close out. The fans wanna Bert can come back on the show later in the season to give an update on Nero and Fed's performance for the season. Being frank with the fans, fans are excited to know.
Well, I gotta be very honest with you.
They can read paper.
After doing the stats last year and stuff, I really would not want to come back on the show as speak to Nero in
Whoa,
particular. So let's just wait and see. He
whoa.
tells me that he's a better exponent at the 40 over 50 over game. He told me he goes at the top and he does his thing. So let's wait and see. If they let me down at Carlton, man, I stick to a job with that. And I think he knows that I worked so hard. Semi final, if I got the game redone. I don't know if I do, man.
What shot he play? What shot he play?
Man, I can't even remember. You erase it from my memory. I know it was a bad shot. Right. Obviously, I
Oh.
spoke to Fed during the season, telling Fed geared her up for the exact moment I know was coming when he had to be the man to lead that intermediate team to the finals and Fed kicked down the bucket. But anyhow, good fellas.
Had a good back, man. Had a good back. That because to switching the box all the time, man. Take time and then he switch the back. Then he headed out the middle. Just when he hit the ball long off, ball go all that shit spoon straight down to long off. Like if you're doing TV, if you're doing catching practice. So but yeah, man, but the fans can follow online, man. Know where we can post the scores. We can keep on up to date. We can keep on up to date.
well, Jamal, on behalf of the guys, I want to thank you for joining us on the show tonight. Like I said, I really enjoyed the talk, and I definitely would like to have you back on again sometime in the future because I feel like we could go on and on talking cricket with you, and you seem very knowledgeable about the game. So like I said, we could go on and on. I don't want to hear about Nero's bowling and all of that. There, I wouldn't want to bring you want to talk about Nero's stats. I wouldn't want to waste a show on that. But it would be very
Just so that,
yeah,
that here,
You
Jamal.
like me got wait, you wanna like me back, bro, boy?
well, the right know you for years, so I know your back is bro. So that's why we continue to throw jobs. But I also want to wish you all the best in your career, Jamal. Like you said, you're not sticking to commentary or coaching or whatever. You just want to stay relevant in the sport and arena and around cricket. And from hearing you speak, you definitely seem to be a focused individual. You definitely seem to have your head on. So I have no doubt that you will definitely reach that peak and as you say stay relevant as you set out to do. So like I said, I want to wish you all the best in the future. And like I said, thank you very much and hope to have you on the show in the future.
Respect. One thing I have to say is that I had to do a good job on the show tonight because I got here and Reed so quiet. It's so interesting because he was the man I was looking to. I even tell myself he come in the boss and pace tonight. He was just cool and quiet. So I had to do a good job. I had to do a good job, like, but thank you, man.
I was just listening to you. Yeah, you have me quiet. I was just listening and taking in knowledge.
On a real, fellas, on a real, I think you all onto something. I think this is a very interesting concept, and I encourage you all guys to keep doing what you're doing. And I hope and I wish for the best for the future. You never know what's possible. You never know who's listening. It's a very good concept. So keep it the good work, fellas.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Yeah, and just want to continue to you just want to continue to thank all the viewers and everyone who continues to send messages and support us. I just want to thank you for continuing to show the support. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe under the show when you watch the video. So thanks again for watching, guys.